Hey, welcome back to the Photography Club. I'm your host, Sue. Today I have a very special guest. This is Amanda McKay. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. I met Amanda, let's see, when was the first photo camp? 2024, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the one we were both at. Yeah.
Yeah. So I met Amanda at photo camp. She lives in South Carolina, and I've been going back to see her every year. And she
So
modeled at the first photo camp, which is how I met her. So she's like a model turned photographer. So today we're going to be talking about just like photography things, being in the industry, business, branding yourself, and what it's like to change to a photographer from being a model, because Amanda has a little bit of a unique perspective on that. So, Amanda, can you go ahead and share a little bit about your journey from becoming a model to a photographer?
yes. So before I started photography, I modeled for about 3 years prior to that. I launched my business for photography in 2024 and I started modeling right around 2021, like basically right after COVID. And
Whoops.
I began modeling in a really strange way. I live in Charleston and my brother did photography before me, so I did like some shoots with him just for fun. And then in Charleston, I was at a yoga studio actually, and an art director scouted me and was like, "Hey, have you ever modeled?" And I was like, "I mean, like for fun, but not really." And she was like, "Well, I'm an art director for a brand and like I would love to get your number." So I gave her my number and she just so happened to text me basically a week later and was like, "I had this model bail. Can you come in 30 minutes?" And I
Oh.
was like, "Sure." I think I ditched class. I was in college at the time and I did.
Love that.
Sure. Yeah. Might as well. Like, what? This will be fun. So I went to the shoot. It was a full setup shoot, like makeup artist, clothing was all provided, hair
Wow.
was done. We had a separate photographer and an art director for a brand. It was in a studio. So, like, full setup. And that was the first time I'd ever really experienced something like that. And I was like, "Wait, this is so much fun. Like, this is so cool." And so that kinda kickstarted my interest in modeling because I was like, I've never really been in such a creative space before. Like, for reference, in high school, I went to a STEM school, so it was all, like, science, technology, engineering, math, all of that. So there wasn't really a lot of opportunity for creativity because I feel like I was pushed in the direction more of, like, traditional route, stay doing something in STEM, and so I wasn't ever really like, maybe you should try something really creative." Um so it's really cool to step into that. And then after that, I just kinda kept going for it. I think I joined, like, Facebook groups, and I would DM different photographers and be like, "Hey, I really wanna get into modeling," or like, "I'm trying to get into it if you ever need somebody to shoot with." I was also, like a social media creator for a swimwear brand at the time, so that kinda helped me, like, be in the creative realm a little bit as well, and I saw a lot of shoots behind the scenes then, and I got to model in a few of them too. So that really helped me as well to, like, network and connect with more people in the industry. And
Mhm.
so then I just started reaching out to more photographers, and Alex, who plans photo camp, which we obviously both go to, she randomly saw me at a restaurant. I was her server one night, and she was like, "Have you ever modeled?" And I was like, "Yeah, I actually do." And she was like, "I just moved here. I'm a photographer. Like, I'm looking for more models to work with. Would you model for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Oh,
So yeah, so then we did a shoot together, and then we just kinda kept shooting together because it was a beautiful thing because we were both really aligned in the same timing of, like, she was trying to build her portfolio for, like, branding, and she had just moved to Charleston, so she just, like, wanted to shoot more and find more locations, and I was really wanting to build my portfolio in modeling, so it was great because we could just work together often. So we did that a lot, and then I was modeling at the same time as I was working in a traditional career. I was working in neuroscience research at the time, and I was just
That
like
is so different.
very different. Yeah, I used to work in psychology prior. I used to work in a pediatric psych unit, and then I moved over to neuroscience research, and I did love it. Like, I still love neuroscience. I love everything about the brain. I think it's so interesting. But research specifically was not for me. It was very like you just said, it's a very 180 flip. In research, I was doing the exact same thing every day. Like, your data is not gonna be accurate if you're switching things up. Obviously, you have to do the same thing every day. And so it was very strange because on the flip side with photography, you're creating something different almost every day. Like, now as a photographer, I edit different galleries. I think I have like 7 different galleries to edit right now, and I
Mhm.
love that. I'm like, "This is amazing." Like, I can switch it up, I can change my tasks. If I'm, like, tired of editing, I'll switch over and do, like, I make SD card cases or something like that.
Which are
So,
so cute, actually. I can't wait for mine to come in the mail.
I sent it on Sunday, so it should be to you by, like, maybe tomorrow.
I am so
It's
excited. Okay.
really cute. I was like, "Why do I wanna keep this for myself?" I was like, "This is so cute."
You guys
Uh
have to go check out Amanda's SD card cases.
yeah, they're fun, but, anyway, so in research, it was a lot of the same thing. So I was
Mhm.
getting just really tired of it, and Alex and I were talking a lot about that. She knew I wasn't, like, super happy in my job, and she was like, "I really think you should try photography." And I was like, "No." I was just like, "Mm,"
Really?
'cause I can vividly remember this conversation. I We were sitting at a coffee shop outside, and I was like, I'm gonna be, like, a real estate agent, I think. And she was like, "What?" She was like, "Okay." Like, definitely you know her, like, she's trying to be supportive, but she's like, "But I really think you should try photography." And I was like, I was like, "I just don't really know, like, I don't know if I see myself doing that." And I think what was hard about it for me is coming from modeling. I was like, that's gonna be weird for me, being on the other side of the camera, and is that gonna blend too much? Like, how am I gonna be able to sustain both? And I think in my head, I was like, I would need something really separate from modeling because I didn't want to give up the piece of me that was doing modeling. I was like, "I love it so much, it's so much fun."
Mhm.
Uh, and then about a week later, I would say, she texted me and was like, "You're gonna try photography, like, you're gonna work under me. I'm basically gonna, like, force you to try it because I think you should try it." And
I
I was
love that.
okay. I was like, "I guess if you say so, like, I guess I'll try it."
Uh-huh.
So, she kinda, like, sparked that idea in my head, and then, I worked with her for a little bit. She taught me, like, the basics, of photography, like ISO, aperture, shutter, all of that, and then, kinda helped me with, like, understanding how to create your business and what to do in that. And I had previously worked before I worked in neuro, I was working in social media content creation. So that kind of helps like blend it a little bit because a lot
Yeah.
of what you're doing when you're marketing yourself is social media content creation. So it kind of blended really well. Um, but long story short, I switched over to doing photography. I started my business basically around the same time that I picked up a camera because working under Alex, I got my LLC at the same time so we could have a contract. And so it was kind of really strange, like starting my business and picking up a camera at the same time. Because for most people, they start photography as like a hobby and then they're like, wait, I love this so much. Like, I might try to do this full time. Or they
Mhm.
did it as an elective in college or high school or something. But I had never touched a camera like that.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, starting at the same time was pretty crazy, and I loved it so much, I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna run for it, I'm gonna do it," and I went full time. 6 months later, I quit neuroscience.
Wow.
Like, "This is it, I'm gonna pour myself into this because what's the worst that's gonna happen? Like, I go back or, like, I stay in something." I remember thinking to myself there's this whole notion about a sunk cost fallacy, which is like you've dedicated so much time into something that sometimes when you decide to leave it, it feels really hard to do because you've dedicated so much time. It's like people who you're in school to be a doctor or a dentist or something, and you've spent 6 years doing this. It's like, it's really hard to step away from it, even when you're not happy because you've already dedicated so much time into it. And I
Yeah.
remember feeling that way a little bit of like, I've already dedicated so much time into schooling and into neuro and psychology and learning so much about it. And I've come up with this whole plan in my mind that I'll go for my PhD and everything. And to like kind of throw that all away per se for picking up a camera and I didn't know what I was doing was, like, very rash decision to me, and I was like, "I don't know."
Mhm.
But I also remember Alex saying to me, "If you want to pursue photography and you want to do this full time, you have to put full-time energy into this."
Yeah.
Because I'm putting full-time energy into my full-time job, obviously working 9 to 5, and then also coming home and spending my time doing photography from like 5 to 10 PM. And so I was burning out so quickly
Mhm.
because it was like, where is my personal time? But I loved photography, so it didn't feel that strange, but it did come to a point where I was like, I think I need to pick a lane because I'm gonna
Mhm.
burn so much quicker if I
Yeah.
don't. And I think that's something that a lot of creatives struggle with because I have so many friends who are in the creative realm who are like, "Oh, like, I nanny 4 days a week right now," or, "I work
Yeah.
at a restaurant as well doing this," and I think it's hard to balance a lot when you have this dream and this goal of what you wanna do, but you also have to have, like, a separate form of income, and just trying to kind of reframe your mind of, like, "If this is what I want to do, I need to be putting full-time energy into this," and sometimes that means having boundaries in the other areas of, like, when I'm clocked out of my other job, I'm clocked out. I'm not staying extra time. I'm not gonna spend extra time thinking about this. I'm going to spend my extra time thinking about what it is I wanna do full time, and
Mm.
that was a big transition flip for me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something I know so many photographers struggle with. I feel like it's actually really rare for me to know a photographer who's only a photographer and
Yes.
doesn't have another job. And so how did you deal with the money aspect of that, like
Yeah,
quitting the full-time job to only photography income? Was that
yeah.
difficult?
So I did end up deciding to step back from neuro and I picked up a job at a restaurant
Oh,
that
okay.
I had already worked at prior in college. So I kind of already knew like what I was doing in that realm, which was easy because it didn't require me to learn a full new set of like I have to learn a whole new menu. I didn't have to learn all my new coworkers. And that was really easy for me. So I did end up transitioning and working at a restaurant to make an income just to have, like, a buffer for myself,
Mhm.
and what was really nice and still is, because I still do work at a restaurant, like, twice a week, so it's
Mhm.
really not that much,
That's like your
but
side job.
yeah, like, it's honestly now just, like, a nice way to get away from photography and a nice set of, like, "Okay, at least I have something else," like, there's always gonna be a little part of me that's like, I need to have something else just in case. But which is like a thing in and of itself. But anyways, I think that ability to work somewhere part-time per se. I think at the time I was working like 4 to 5 times a week, but what's nice about the restaurant schedule is that you're only working like 3 to 10 PM, or I was working like 11 to 3 PM, so I still had a good chunk of my day otherwise, versus when you're working 9 to 5, it's really hard because you're not really computing those other hours that you're using for commute time, when you're getting ready in the morning, the
Mhm.
drive to come home, and then when you come home, you're like, oh, like, I need a second to just reset." And then on the weekends, I was like, "Well, I have to meal prep for this whole week," and, like, just the schedule was ended up being more than a 9 to 5. And so with the restaurant, it was easier because it gave me a little bit more flexibility, and that gave me more flexibility with shooting time as well. Like, I worked lunch, so I was, like, 11 to 3 PM, but I could still shoot at night, and if I wasn't shooting at night, then I could edit and work on other stuff. So that gave me that balance of being able to have another job, but really putting full-time energy into photography. And I knew I didn't wanna stay in food and bev for forever. I think that was something that, like, I wanted to do a job that I knew for myself, this isn't gonna be my end all be all, because when I was working neuroscience, I was like, "This could be it, like, this could
Oh,
be my full-time job." So I was also balancing between this, like, indecisiveness, whereas when I put myself in the position where I was doing photography, but the restaurant, I knew I didn't wanna work in the restaurant for forever, so it forced me to take, like, actionable steps to making photography my full-time thing.
okay. Can you talk about those actionable steps that
Yeah.
you took? Like,
Um,
to make
yeah,
photography more of a full-time thing?
yeah. When I started photography, I made it a goal for myself to shoot 3 times a week, even if it wasn't paid clients. It was
That
like,
is
still gonna
actually
shoot.
such a good goal, yeah.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
and it doesn't always have to be like I said, it wasn't always paid clients. Sometimes it was just, like, asking my friends, "Hey,
Yeah.
can you guys do a photo shoot with me really quick?" And just coming up with creative ideas for that. I think that was the biggest thing is, like, having stuff to put out there in your portfolio, whether it's paid or not, is huge. Because
Mhm.
I think people are always like, I'm not gonna do it unless it's paid. But if you do one free thing, sometimes that leads you to 3 other paid clients. And then you can just balance it out eventually to like, okay, I did this for free, but then maybe I did 3 other shoots for $300 or something. Well, then technically that would mean that that first shoot gained me like $50 or $100. I'm not good at math, so whatever it is,
From how yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no,
so
that's what
technically
I
it
did
wasn't for
too.
free, and, so I think, like, just being willing to do things that aren't always paid was huge, and I found that a lot in modeling as well. I
Mhm,
did a ton of free modeling work, like, a ton, and sometimes I still do. If it's, like, a concept that I like or it's
mhm.
something that I want to grow in, like an area of photography or an area of modeling, then I'm like, "Wait, I really wanna shoot this because this is more aligned with shoots that I want to do." More in the future, I'll do it for free because that's gonna help me more in the direction of what I want to shoot in. So, yeah, just trying to be more intentional about always shooting.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that's a good point too, is being intentional in the free work that you do take, like, is it aligned with your goals and
yeah,
what you wanna achieve? Because even me, having done photography for 6 or 7 years now, I still take free work, but only if it moves me closer towards my
yes,
goals.
definitely. Me too, me too. Um Yeah, so at the beginning, I think I would have taken any paid work, but,
Mhm.
even if the paid work didn't align with what I wanted to shoot, my extra time where I wasn't shooting, if I had a day that was free, I would try to shoot something that aligned with what I wanted my brand to look more like. Um, I think people have a really it's a very controversial topic, I think, to think about niching down really quickly, and
Yeah.
I have mixed opinions on it. I
Okay.
niched down pretty quickly, I would say. I went
Into what?
straight into couples.
Couples? That's yeah, what I thought.
That's, like, what I primarily shot, and I would only post that because that's what I
Mhm.
wanted to shoot. So, I still get, inquiries for other things, of course, and sometimes I'll still take it, but I won't always post it because I want to book more couples, and I did find that the more that I was posting what I wanted to shoot, that's the inquiries that I would get, which is super helpful, but, where was I going with
Do
this?
you think that it's important to niche down? What are your thoughts on niching down? Because I know you did it right away, but what about for someone who maybe doesn't know what they wanna shoot yet?
Yeah. I think it's really important to shoot all different kinds of things. I think that's something I somewhat regret. I still love shooting couples so much, but I think because I niched down so quickly, I realized, I might want to shoot some other things. And it's really easy to get burnt out when when you niche down
Yeah.
very fast too. So with my couples clients, I felt like I need a little bit of a balance in something else right now. Like I took grads for this season from March to April, and I realized when I came back in May to shooting couples, it was like a whole new I felt so much more refreshed. And
Yeah.
so I think having a balance of, like, just trying out different things and shooting different things and not boxing yourself in too quickly is really important. But if you find something that you really, really love and you're like, "No, this is it. This is all I wanna shoot," then go for it. Of course, then niche down in that. But if you're, like, new to photography and you wanna try out other things, I think it is important to just, like, try stuff out. And sometimes photographers will let other people, like, tag along in other shoots and just try
Mhm.
it out. And so maybe if you're like, I can't put something together where I'm gonna have a grad shoot," like, maybe ask some other photographers as you network, like, "Hey, can I tag along on that?" Or sometimes they'll offer, like, I just offered a girl who's really into wedding photography, "Come to one of my weddings." Like, "I don't care, you can be a 3rd shooter, it doesn't matter to me at all."
Yeah,
Uh,
or, like, mentorships, because 'cause I've learned the most
yeah.
through mentorships and just following
Definitely.
other people
That's
and
huge. I think mentorships are massive, and that also goes along with, like, attending retreats in
oh,
areas
yeah.
you wanna grow into is, like, if you want to just understand, like, what do I enjoy shooting more, attend a retreat that has different options for different
Mhm.
styled shoots, and that can help you figure it out a little bit more.
Yeah, and I love what you said about, like, it's okay if you don't know what it is you wanna shoot, because I feel like there's so much pressure, and when you go to a retreat too, everyone's like, "What do you shoot? What's your niche?" And, like, it's okay if you don't know, and
Totally.
but I do wanna say,
And
like, there are some really awesome benefits of finding your niche and really niching down. Like, one, I would say you can start charging more when you do find a niche
yeah.
because if you're doing that same thing over and over, you get really good at it. And
Yeah.
so that's what I've
Yes.
learned with senior
Master it.
photography. Like, yeah, I found my niche there, but don't feel overwhelmed or like you're behind or anything like that if you haven't found your
Totally.
niche.
Totally. This is, like, kind of a separate point, but I read something the other day that was, like, someone said, "I'm the least experienced blank in the room, but at least I'm in the room." And I
Oh,
think that's
yeah.
huge, is, like, you might be the least experienced photographer in the room, but you're in the room, and that's
Mhm.
a huge thing is, like, I feel like there's a, like a stigma not a stigma, but just like a hesitation, I guess, to wanna say like, "Oh, I'm a photographer," and you'll just say like, "Oh, I do photography," and I think it's really important to speak into existence what it is that you want to do,
Yes. Oh,
because
that's so good.
so many times people will be like I think one of the number one questions that we get asked in America is like, "What do you do?" That's like the second
Yeah.
question that you ask somebody after their name is like, What do you do for a living?" And when you're in the creative realm, I think it's really easy to be like, "Oh, well, I nanny, but then I also work at this restaurant, and then I also work at this boutique, or I do this, but I'm also pursuing photography." Or like, I think that's really common in any creative realm.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, I work as a server 4 days a week, but I actually want to be a musician," or like I'm doing that. And I think instead of like filling in all that stuff, you can say, "I'm working towards being a photographer." Like that's what I'm working towards. Like cut out everything else and just say,
And
"I'm working towards being a photographer,"
and
because
I would say you could even say I am a photographer.
yeah, absolutely. Say like, "I am a photographer." If that's what you're working towards,
Yeah.
100%. People do that all the time when they're in a traditional career where they'll be in school and they'll say, "Oh, I'm in school to be a therapist," or "I'm in school to be a doctor," or something like that. So why can't we say, "I'm working towards being a photographer," or "I am a photographer"? Like, there's no need to say all this other stuff, and the more
Mhm.
that you speak that into existence of like, "This is what I'm working towards," or "This is what I am," it also puts a pressure on yourself to be like, "Wait, I just told everybody that that's what I am? So now I need to follow
Now I
through."
have to do it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's like
it
a
holds
boot
yourself
camp in a way
accountable.
because it forces you to put forth these actionable
Yeah.
items of like, "Okay, well, I just told everybody that I'm a photographer, so now I actually need to, like, post my work because now
Yeah,
people are gonna think, yeah, oh, yeah, she's a photographer, so
and
let me go look up her work." And so now you feel like, "Okay, I have to post it," and that's good because
yeah,
that's
you're gonna grow a lot faster if you do that. Was it difficult for you to step into that persona of being a
oh, yeah.
photographer?
Yeah, for sure. I think I definitely can't even remember the first time that I said I was a photographer.
Uh-huh.
It definitely wasn't when I started my business. I think it was after a little while. I don't think I felt comfortable telling anybody that I was a photographer until I, like, dropped neuroscience and decided to go into it wholeheartedly. Um, but I think if you're someone who has a camera and you shoot often and you post what you shoot, you're a photographer.
Mhm.
And there doesn't need to be, like, a whole thing about it. I think people only feel like they can say that if you're full-time or something, but that's not the case. If it's
Yeah.
most people probably aren't full-time,
Yeah.
and they're not gonna sit here and say that they're not a photographer.
Yeah,
So I think just
especially
the
if you do wanna become full-time, like, you should absolutely just start saying that you are a photographer, and then it will happen.
totally, and you don't know what's gonna come out of it when you do. I
Mhm.
think, uh, when you say you're a photographer to people, if you actually are able to, like, explain that and express that you're a photographer, some people might have connections that you don't even know about, that you're like, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, that's great. Well, now I can use this person and network with them help myself to grow my business." And I think that goes with, like, rebranding in general too, of, like, at least for myself, when I was shooting couples for so long, I think when you say to people, "Oh, I'm a photographer," their next question is typically, "What do you shoot?" And for a long time, I was like, "I shoot couples," and I would leave it at that because that's what I shot and that was my niche. But now I'm expanding into shooting other things, and I found it so beneficial to say everything that I shoot, even if it's not lucrative yet. Like, I
Mhm.
shoot surf photography. Is it lucrative? Am I making thousands of dollars on it? No, but I'm still gonna say it because you never know what's gonna happen when you say that. Some people be like, "Oh my gosh, I surf. Like, can we do a photo shoot or something?" Great, perfect. Or I'll say like, "Oh, I do brand photography," and they're like, I just started a brand or like, "Oh, I have a brand." But if I would have just said, "I shoot couples," and I would have left it at that because that's all that's lucrative to me right now, then I would be cutting myself off from potentially meeting people that could help me grow my business.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, I would love to talk about your rebrand actually. This is something Amanda and I talked about a little bit when we were together at the last photo camp. And can you share what made you want to rebrand and how that's been going for you and like what you're changing from and going into?
Yes. I feel like I have gone through like 2 rebrandings a little bit, one from modeling to photography, which was like the biggest rebrand ever.
Mhm.
Uh, and then now more of like a rebrand in terms of like growing my business into what I want it to look like. Um, my first rebrand from modeling into photography, w- bef- prior to doing photography, my Instagram was pretty heavy into modeling. I would post most of the content that I had from galleries that photographers would send me from shoots, and like repost, post on my story of what other photographers would post of me or brands. And so transitioning into photography was a little bit strange, because I was now posting photography things and
Mhm.
people, I don't really know, but I think people were just like, "Oh, like, okay." Um, and I totally lost, like, so many followers, I think,
Yeah.
because naturally, that's just gonna happen. That happens in any area of your life. Like, as you evolve and grow as a person, sometimes those people carry along with you and sometimes they don't. And you lose friends, you gain friends. It's like the same thing. It's like you might lose followers, but you also gain followers if you're consistent in what you want your brand to look like. So once I transitioned from modeling, it was kind of like a slower transition where I would say like model and photographer, and then I would do a mix of like modeling photos that I had and then my own photography. And I remember talking about it with other photographers who were in my circle, and they were like, at some point, I think you're gonna have to separate them. And I remember feeling
Really?
like, really? Like, I just felt really sad about that of like,
I feel
"Hmm,
like you don't have to though. Like,
Yeah,
if they both are something that aligns with you and that's something you
yes,
wanna do, I feel like you don't because people like, I do self-portraits, that's not modeling,
yeah,
but they perform better than most posts, honestly, so it's like, you
yeah.
really don't have to if it's what you want, like, if it aligns with you.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like everyone has like, every photographer I know, it's like, for some reason, like, some of my best posts are the ones of me, and it's like, people wanna see your face, it's so interesting.
Uh-huh.
But, I think with the aspect of, like, where I was in it, now looking back, it is a little bit difficult to have had them continuously combined because the work that I was doing was obviously like other photographers, so their edit might look so
Mhm.
different than mine, and so my
Mhm.
feed was a little bit confusing. Like,
Ok
obviously, you can read in my bio that it was modeling and photography, but to a clientele of people, when you look at the Instagram, it was a little bit like, wait, this is so different. Like, this photo is so different than this photo. And then, wait, I really like this photo. Why are the edits so different?
okay,
So
that
it's
makes
just like a
sense.
little bit confusing. Yeah, with the editing. Um, and so I eventually did decide to separate them. And I remember that being just kind of like a hard decision to go
Yeah.
into. And I think it's interesting because people experience that even when you're rebranding and you're growing your business and shooting different things. Like, I actually had a girl come up to me yesterday because I was in the ocean with my underwater housing and my camera, and she came up to me and was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Like, I'm a photographer too." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. Like, what do you shoot?" And then she told me that she does like weddings and proposals, engagements, and all of that. And she's like, but I also do surf photography, but everyone's been telling me that I need to separate, like, make a separate account for my surf
Oh,
photography.
interesting.
And I was like, wow, like, that's so interesting. And I feel like if your editing is consistent, I don't see why you can't combine like multiple different niches into it. Um, I think it depends on like the way that you want your brand to look, of course.
Yeah.
Um, but I think people do hone in on, like, niching down really quick, and it's okay if you shoot multiple different things, like, if you like shooting landscapes, post a few landscapes.
Mhm.
Shooting animals, post the animals, and then post a
Yeah.
couple next to it, like, it's fine. It's photography as a realm, like an umbrella, doesn't
Yeah,
have to be one specific thing.
mhm.
Uh,
And then I think like you said earlier, as long as you are just intentional about it and know that what you post is gonna lead to what you book. So it's
yeah,
like, if you want to book more of that stuff, then you should post it, and if you
exactly.
enjoy it, then post it.
Yeah, exactly, that's how I see it too. It's like if you wanna be a National Geographic photographer, post the landscape stuff, like, don't not post it, you know?
Mhm.
But anyway, so I think that was, like, a difficult transition, and then I remember being at a point where I was a lot deeper into photography, and that was my whole Instagram. Like, I mean, I separated them, so my main Instagram was photography. Every post was my own work. I really don't have posts up of myself on my photography Instagram much.
Mhm.
And my bio was, like, photographer. There was really nothing about modeling, unless you click on my Instagram right now says, like, "Hi, I am," and then it has my personal Instagram, and my personal Instagram does show more of my modeling work, but
Mhm.
my photography Instagram is mainly what I post on and what I use and, like, how my business grows. And I remember being at a modeling shoot and, like, seeing other models and catching up with them and just hearing about, like, all these incredible gigs that they were getting, like, going to different states, going to New York, going to LA, going to Miami or something, and also, like, them getting chosen for specific shots, like, really, like, individualized shots and being like, "Ugh, like, darn, maybe if I would've stuck with it and I wouldn't have done photography, I would have been more successful in it, and I think that was just, like, emotionally a difficult piece of the rebrand that people don't see necessarily, and that's really specific to, like, modeling into photography. It's a little bit different in photography, but,
But I think that's really important because it's like what you put your time into is going to show, and that's why it's so important to be intentional and really think
yeah,
about long term, what do you want? I actually remember you mentioning that, like, a few years ago or maybe last year, how you felt like you were almost behind because you had
yeah,
shifted from modeling to photography because you were beginning in photography, so you probably weren't as advanced as the other people you
yeah,
knew who did
yeah.
photography, and then you felt like you were falling behind in modeling because you weren't putting as much time into it.
Yeah, and that exact point is, like, such a hard point because it's like you're stepping back from something that you've already put a lot of time into, that you've begun to master. Like, when I let go, not let go, because I still do model, but when I, like, stepped back and put more energy into photography, at the time in modeling, I was like, "This is awesome." Like, I was booking with bigger brands, with, like, national brands, and I wasn't signed with an agency either, so I was like, "This is great." I remember I had just walked in a casting call for Wilhelmina, and I got a call back from Wilhelmina, and I was like, "This is awesome." Like, I was in such a good place with
Mhm.
modeling, but then I chose photography, and so I think, like what you're saying, it's really important to evaluate what your values are in your life as a whole, because I remember being like, "I could stay in modeling, but I want something that I'm gonna have a little bit more longevity in, and where I'm going to, like, be able to sustain myself and have a little bit more autonomy over, like, how many shoots I take and how much money I can make in this," because the hard part about modeling is nothing's really up to your discretion. Like, if you get booked, great, but you might not get booked.
Yeah.
And obviously you can market as much as like you want to, but you might not always like get booked. You might not always make enough money. And so it is like a little bit of a risky decision. And then of course everyone's always like after you get to a certain age, like your
Yeah.
bookings start to slow down.
And that
And
would be so hard mentally, I feel like, to go
yeah,
through that.
yeah. And just like kind of feeling like I don't know if I can sustain this, like, long term, and I think that may honestly be how a lot of creatives feel, like, think about actors and actresses and musicians, it's like they feel like that too, they handle so much rejection,
Mhm.
hoping to have their, like, breakthrough point, and it's hard, like, it's mentally a really hard place to be in, so anyways.
So how did you handle those feelings? What kinda things did you think about? Or if you have any advice for someone who might be struggling with that?
Yeah, I think, evaluating and reminding yourself of what your values are and why you chose to go on the route that you did.
Yeah.
Um, like, maybe for me, it was like I wanted to have a little bit more longevity in my career, but I still wanted to do something creative because I loved modeling, like, I wanted to stay in that creative realm, and so photography was the perfect outlet. But for some people, like, I have another friend who switched from modeling to photography, and she was like, "I just wanted to have more creative autonomy, like, creative direction. I wanted to feel like I had more purpose at a shoot than just, like, modeling, and so I think just reminding yourself of, like, what was the reason that I made this switch, and I'm gonna stay firm in my goal for that and, like, why I chose that for myself, even in those moments of doubt, and just continuing to, like, chug along with it and know that things don't happen overnight. I think in our society, and at least like within my day and age, like my generation, we're so used to the instant gratification. My mom is always like, "Amanda, things are not gonna happen like a microwave." And I'm like,
Like a microwave.
"Mom, I know." And she's like, "It's not, you can't just put like an ad 30 seconds on the microwave and boom, you're gonna be a photographer." And I'm like, "Ugh, yeah, like, you're right."
Actually
It's annoying, but she's right. And
yeah,
so it's like one of those things where it's like it's hard because you can get so stuck in it so easily because you're like, "Oh, like I have this whole dream and this vision and it's not coming together right away." But
yeah,
it really is a marathon. Like it takes so much time. I'm still growing in photography, and it's been like almost 2 years now, a little over a year of doing it full time, and there's still so much growth. And I think anyone, even if you're 6 years down the line, could be like, I'm still growing in
oh, yeah,
photography. That's
definitely.
the name of the game, is you're never really fully satisfied. So you're always trying to aim to do more and learn more, and it's like a blessing and a curse. So
What
in these moments, it's just like trying to have the mental stamina to keep
yeah.
going.
One thing I love to think about, because I was struggling with that as well, I'm like, "Why am I not further along than I am?" It's really hard to just get into that mindset, so one thing I love to think about is this metamorphosis metaphor for it, which I learned from Jai Long, he's like a business
Oh,
coach.
yeah.
Do you listen to Jai?
Yeah, I have
Oh,
listened to him on another podcast, but I haven't
yeah.
listened to him specifically. But when he spoke on another podcast I listened to, I was like, "This is really insightful."
Yeah, yeah, he has a lot of good mindset shifts, and one is you go through these metamorphosis phases of becoming a butterfly when you're in
Mm,
business. So you start as an egg, and that's when you have your idea for
yeah,
your business or whatever it is, and then you become a caterpillar, and caterpillars have to eat a ton, like, they're eating all day long, and that's when you're working, that's when you're putting in the work, you're
yeah,
doing these things every single day, and you're like, "Why am I not seeing any results? Like, I'm still a caterpillar, but I'm eating so much." And
yeah,
then you go into a cocoon, and this is when you kind of reflect. You're like, "Okay, is this long term for me? Is this what I wanna do?" And then you become a butterfly. Like, all of that work that you put in pays off because
yeah.
you've been doing it over and over,
That's
and that's when people see that overnight success is what it
yeah,
looks like, is when you become the butterfly, they don't actually
totally,
see that moment of you being a
totally.
caterpillar.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's you never see what's really happening behind the scenes, and that's why, weirdly enough, the things that I love the most on, like, Instagram or in podcasts is people generally just being vulnerable and being like,
Yeah.
"I sobbed my eyes out today," because you don't
Yeah.
see that. All
Yeah.
you see on social media is, like, a highlight reel, and I remember thinking that as well of, like, "Oh, like, I am nowhere close, like, look at some of these people's work, like, it's incredible," but
Yeah.
you forget that everyone's only posting their A plus work. I'm
Mhm.
not out here posting the galleries I'm not proud of,
Yeah.
and so I don't think anyone else is either. And so
Yeah.
I'm looking at these people's work and I'm like, "Wow, this is incredible," but I'm not seeing the galleries that they didn't wanna deliver,
Yeah, like, the
that
photo shoots they
I'm
do
proud of,
every single
the
day.
photo shoots that didn't turn out the way they wanted to, like, we're not seeing those things, and
Yeah.
so it's like, you have to reframe and remember those things is like, everyone's posting their A plus highlight reel work, and it's really hard to remember too that you might be seeing another photographer's work who's incredible, and you're like, "Wow, they're so good, like, I'm never gonna get to that point," like, or not I'm never gonna get to that point, but, like, I have so much more to grow in,
Yeah,
and
no,
you don't know
comparing
how
yourself
long they've been doing photography. Like, I
yeah,
remember talking to another girl who I'm love her work, obsessed with it. We're the same age, and I'm like, "You are so talented, and we are the
mhm.
same age. How am I gonna get there?" And she was like I was like, "Oh, how long have you been doing photography?" She was like, "7 years," and I was like, I've been doing photography for, like, 1.
Yeah, and
And
that's
so
why
it's
it's
also,
so
like,
important.
remembering other
Yeah,
people's work who you are seeing. You don't know how long they've been chugging at this. So,
mhm.
their work might be really good because they've been chugging at it for 7 years. And it's just, like, having that's, I think, a part of the mental battle that people don't see of it.
Yeah, but the other thing is there's people who have been doing photography for 7 years, but they only do it, like, on the side
Yeah,
occasionally, and then there's
yeah,
people who've been doing it for 2 years, but they do it every single day, and that person who does it every single day is going to have more growth and more results. So anytime I'm feeling like that comparison or just down on myself, I just remind myself, "You're a caterpillar, just keep eating and you'll
totally.
become a butterfly."
One of my favorite quotes, this is, like, so cheesy, but it's like, "Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard." And it's like,
Oh.
just keep chugging, working hard, because that is what's gonna get you the growth. And you can see that in so many areas of different people's lives. Like, not even just in photography, but you could be the smartest kid. You could have, like, the 1,600 on an SAT. But that's not always gonna get you where you need it to go. Like, it's really about putting in the work. And there are days when it's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, I've been working so much. Like, is this ever gonna pay off?" And it's a hard thing, and that's when it's really important to have community around you that supports you.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, are you feeling those same feelings or similar feelings rebranding right now? Because you mentioned you're kind of shifting away from couples into more of like the surfer
Yeah,
niche.
yeah, for sure. Definitely feeling it. It definitely feels like I'm going through my, what, caterpillar phase again right.
Yeah, because you have to relearn a few
Yeah,
things with those 2 years.
a lot of relearning my gear, which is taking me a long
Yeah.
time. Like, I think I forget how complicated photography gear is, and now
Mhm.
that it's so funny because you forget how complicated it is until you walk back into getting, like, a new gadget, as I say, because now photography is so secondhand to me, like, changing my settings is so quick, like, I can do it so quickly because
Mhm.
it's almost automatic because 'cause I've been doing it so frequently, but I forget about when I, like, first picked up my camera and I was like, "Okay, shutter this way." I'm like, how do I change my aperture? And, like, it's just you forget. It's so easy to look on the future and everything you have to do and forget to look back, and so it's a really humbling experience to pick up a new piece of gear and be like, "Okay." Like, my underwater housing, I took it out last week for a shoot, and I had this whole vision in mind of what I was gonna do, and I was like, "Yes, it's gonna come out so good." I get out there and I had to unscrew my housing, and then I put my camera in and I re-screwed it, and I was like, "I forgot to change my settings for aperture priority," and, like, putting it in a surf-focused settings versus because 'cause I'm when you shoot surf, you can't shoot it with, like, f2. I mean, you can if you want bokeh, but, like, that's not typically what people would shoot in.
Mm.
So I was like, "Now I gotta unscrew and fix my settings." So I did that, put it in, screwed it on, and I was like, "I forgot to grease my O-ring on there." So then I had to unscrew it again and then re-grease my like, all the parts of it so it doesn't get water in it, and I
Oh.
was like, "This is really humbling." I screw it back on. Because I had done that 3 times, my the humidity from outside got trapped in there from screwing and rescrewing too often and too quickly that there was too much condensation inside of it. So my whole flat port is fogged up. Like you can't see anything in the photos. It's all foggy. I sent it to the girls and I was like, "This looks like Tumblr, like 2007." And I was like, "Ah," like it's one of those things
Mm.
where it's such a humbling experience when you get new gear, and I think that goes for any form of new gear, like when you start learning film, when you start
Mhm.
learning Super 8, when you do videography, like when you start expanding your business, or not even in a photography realm, but like if you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna hone in more on how I market myself and social media," like there's such a learning curve to it, and so you do end up spending a lot of time as a caterpillar eating.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I definitely feel that for sure. But there's also like a really incredible feeling that comes along with seeing like, oh, I'm producing something that I once dreamt of producing. And I think I
Mhm.
forget that a lot is like I just did a branding shoot yesterday, and I had all my prints with me, and I was like, I remember the day that I was like, "Wow, that would be so cool if I create a print shop." And then I'm like, "I'm at the branding shoot for my print shop." Like, that's crazy. And you forget
Wow.
sometimes that, like, what you're working on is once something that you dreamt of and envisioned,
Mhm.
and now you're executing that, and you need to give yourself credit for it. And it's yeah, it's definitely a process, but
Yeah,
it's
I feel like you have to look back and think about what you wanted 2 years ago or even longer because usually it's like, "Okay, wait, I'm actually where I wanted to be years ago. I
yeah,
thought it would happen sooner, but I'm here now," and it's important to take a minute and actually acknowledge that and
yeah.
celebrate that win.
Totally, and I think, like, in photography as well, it's cool to do that. Like, I feel like, at least for myself, since I've upgraded gear, I don't really have a lot of my old photos or old galleries, and I remember I logged into my iCloud to, like, get on my iPad a few weeks ago, and it had a bunch of my very first galleries on it because at the time, I think I was, like, downloading all my photos into my iCloud. I don't even think I
Mhm.
had a hard drive. Like, I was like, "What? A hard drive? What?
Yeah.
I'm not putting these into my iCloud." Like, it's a learn and that's such a learning curve, like, it's so weird to think back on that where I'm like, "I wasn't using a hard drive then?" Like, that's crazy.
I know, I don't think I used a hard drive, like, my first year.
No, I think I genuinely would download the photos from my camera onto my iPhone, and then I would be like, "Let me
Oh, wow.
a folder on my iPhone," and they would all go into my iCloud. That was taking up way too much space. I don't know why I did that, but anyway, and I looked back at those photos and I was like, "This is crazy." Like, I was like, "Girl, what are you doing with the exposure in this?" Like, "Huh?" And so it's, like, sometimes fun. I'm like, I wanna keep some of my old galleries just as a reminder too of, like, you forget how much you've grown, and it's cool to, like, look back on it and think, like I'm sure even with you, with your self-portraits, it's, like, the very first self-portrait that you ever took versus, like, your most recent one. I think it would be so cool, and I'm sure you have, to, like, an evolution of your
Yeah.
self-portrait. Like, that's so cool, and
Mhm, yeah.
people love seeing that because it's such a reminder of, like, growth does happen when you put the work in.
Mhm. Yeah. The other thing I like to think about is, like, everything goes down before it goes up usually. So if you feel like you're in that spot, like maybe you're switching, rebranding, or
Yeah,
going full time, it is gonna go down and you are gonna feel those feelings of like, "Am I supposed to be doing this?" But I just like to remember, okay, this is where most people give up. Like, if you can push through that
yeah,
phase and keep going, you are just gonna go up and it's just gonna get
yeah,
better.
yeah. Um, I completely agree. I remember hearing a quote that was like, "The breakdown is the moment right before the breakthrough." And
Yeah.
it's so easy in the breakdown to be like, "Oh, like this is it. Like I don't know where to go. I don't know what to turn to. I'm giving up on this." But that can also lead to just like opening up so many things. And I remember fully breaking down with my social media and being like, "This is not what I
Mhm.
want. This is not how I want it to look. I'm not thrilled with the way that my business looks right now or, like, my photography." And just, like, completely breaking down and being like, "I need to take a break from, like, social media and just the pressure of posting and just take a minute." And I remember being like, "Ugh, like, should I just quit?" And feeling really down about myself in that moment of deciding to just, like, take a break from social media, but it was really cool because when I did and when I was able to step back, I was able to reflect more on, like, "Okay, now that I'm not putting all this energy into posting, where can this energy go into?" And that
Mhm.
was rebranding and figuring out like, okay, what is it that I actually want to post now? What is it that I actually want my photography to look like? And giving yourself the time to reflect on that is huge.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, I love that. I feel like that was such a great episode. So I'm gonna ask a random question coming from a card. If you could turn back the clock on one day this year and do it differently, what day would it be and why?
The one day this year. Okay, 2026.
That's a hard question.
That is, but it's such a good question. I think I would turn back the clock to that moment when I was, like, really upset about what was happening with my business and, like, where I was gonna go, and when I decided I needed a break from social media to focus on the rebrand, and I think at the time, I was like, should I just quit? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I wish that I could like turn back the clock and just be like, this is actually essential. Like, you need to do this because this is going to help you grow more into what you want. And taking a step back is not, it's not a like reflection of failing. It's
Mhm.
actually helping you to move forward. Like taking a step back can be a good thing. And so I wish that I would have been able to remind myself of that a little bit more, that sometimes taking a step back in something doesn't always mean that it's a bad thing. It's
Yeah,
actually probably a better thing to help you align yourself more with what you want.
yeah, so that you don't have to feel guilty about doing it
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
needed.
Or
That's
so you don't look back in like 5 years from now and be like, "I just kept chugging along. I didn't give myself a break. I didn't give myself a time to reflect. And now I'm so in deep,
mm,
like, I'm booked for the rest of the year. When am I gonna have time to, like, focus on what I actually wanna shoot?" I just think it's important to, like, have intentional time to reflect because it's so easy to get caught up in the to-do list. As a small
yeah.
business owner, it's like there's so much stuff to do. So, just having, like, intentional time to get bored and reflect because that's where actual creativity is gonna come from.
Yeah, definitely something I needed to be reminded of too, because 'cause I'm, like,
Me too.
just so in the thick of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, Amanda, why don't you share where everyone can find you and follow along and check out your SD cases?
Okay, my Instagram is at by, like by by Amanda Nicole with an extra E at the end. So that's my Instagram. Yeah, that's
Perfect.
probably the easiest place to find me. Everything else is in my link tree if you want to look on my website or my personal Instagram's in there too. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I had so much fun.